I'm staring at my phone screen, and my hands won't stop shaking. The email is right there, 2 sentences that just destroyed everything. Linda, my mother-in-law, had been running her staffing company, Premier Solutions, for 15 years. 15 years of building something she was proud of. And in one afternoon, because of a single phone call I made, it all came crashing down. But I'm getting ahead of myself. You need to understand who I am, who we are, before you can understand what happened and why I made that call. My name is Ashley, I'm 34, and until 6 months ago, I had what most people would call a pretty good life. My husband Michael and I bought our house in suburban Denver about 8 years back, a 3-bedroom colonial with a wraparound porch and a yard big enough for the kids to run around in. The mortgage was manageable, we both had decent jobs, and we weren't drowning in debt like so many people our age. Michael works as a mechanical engineer at a manufacturing plant. Solid income, good benefits, 401k matching. I work in HR for a mid-sized insurance company, remote 2 days a week, which is perfect because it lets me be home when Emma and Tyler get off the school bus. Emma's 12, Tyler's 9. Good kids. Not perfect. Tyler still leaves his socks everywhere, and Emma's addicted to her phone. But good. The kind of kids who make you feel like you're doing something right, you know? Our life had rhythm. Wake up, coffee, get the kids ready for school, work, pick up the kids, homework, dinner together at the table most nights. Weekends were for soccer games and yard work and family stuff. We'd go to my parents' house in Boulder for holidays. Michael's family lived all over the place, but his mom Linda was in Colorado Springs, about an hour south. We'd see her maybe once a month, usually for Sunday dinner. It was fine, normal, stable. I loved my husband, I still do. Michael's a good guy, patient, funny in that dry way, the kind of person who remembers to ask about your day and actually listens to the answer. We'd been married 13 years. We'd had our rough patches like everybody, but nothing serious. We'd grown together, built something real. Linda was always a bit much. She's the type of woman who needs to be in control of everything. The conversation, the dinner menu, what time everyone shows up. She had opinions about how I raised the kids, how I kept the house, what I should wear to company events. Nothing outrageous, nothing you could really call her out on, but persistent, like water wearing away its stone. Michael would sometimes joke about it, but he never really stood up to her, which I understood. She was his mom. That's complicated. The thing is, I never actively disliked Linda. I just managed her. Smiled, nodded, changed the subject when she got judgmental. It's what you do with in-laws. Everything changed the week before Thanksgiving 6 months ago. Michael came home from work looking weird, distracted, maybe upset. He said he needed to talk to me about something, but not in front of the kids. We waited until they were in bed. We sat in the kitchen with coffee getting cold in front of us, and he told me his mom had called him. She wanted to hire his sister Jennifer at her company. Jennifer had just gotten divorced and needed work. That part wasn't shocking. Linda was always helping family. But Michael looked uncomfortable. "There's a problem," he said. "Jennifer told me she doesn't actually want to work for Mom. She feels pressured. But Mom's already decided, and you know how she gets." I did know. Once Linda decided something, she didn't hear anything else. "What does Jennifer want to do?" I asked. "She wants to take some time, maybe go back to school, but she's scared to tell Mom no." I remember thinking, that's their family drama, not mine. I told Michael that Jennifer was an adult and needed to have that conversation with her mother. He agreed but seemed stressed about it. I figured it would blow over. It didn't. About a week later, Michael told me that Linda had gone ahead and hired Jennifer anyway. Jennifer had tried to decline, but Linda had basically ignored her refusal and added her to the payroll at Premier Solutions. Jennifer was miserable about it but felt trapped. And then things got weird. Linda started calling the house more often. Sometimes she'd ask to speak to Michael specifically. Sometimes she'd try to chat with me, but the conversations felt probing, like she was fishing for information about Michael's work, his schedule, his mood. I brushed it off as her being her usual self. Then came the Thanksgiving invitation. She wanted us to come to her house in Colorado Springs for the holiday, all of us. She was very specific about it. I said we probably do something low-key at home, maybe go to my parents, and she actually got sharp with me. Family comes first, Ashley. I don't see why that's so difficult for you to understand. I felt it then, that little burn in my chest, the one that says someone just crossed a line. I told Michael about it, and for the first time, he didn't just brush it off. He said his mom had been acting strange lately, controlling. He admitted he'd been avoiding her calls, but he still didn't want to upset her. That's when I made a decision that seemed reasonable at the time. I decided I was going to find out what was really going on with Linda, because something felt off. Something felt wrong. I wish I'd never done that. I started digging that same week. Nothing illegal at first, just Google searches, LinkedIn profiles, public records. Linda ran Premier Solutions out of a small office park near downtown Colorado Springs. 15 years in business, decent reputation, contracts with tech companies and hospitals for temporary staffing. Her company had maybe 30 employees, mid-sized for the area. Nothing that screamed scandal. But the more I looked, the more questions I had. Why was Jennifer so scared to tell Linda no? Why was Linda pushing so hard to hire her? And why had Michael's entire demeanor changed? I did something I'm not proud of. I created a fake LinkedIn profile. Nothing elaborate, just a generic recruiter name. And I sent Linda a message saying I'd seen her company's work and wanted to discuss potential partnership opportunities. I wanted to see how she'd respond, what she'd say about her business, her team. She responded within an hour. Eager. Too eager. She suggested a phone call. During that call, which I recorded on my personal phone using a legal app that notified her I was recording, Linda made some offhand comments that made my skin crawl. "I'm actually going through some staffing transitions right now," she said, her voice bright but with an edge underneath. "I'm bringing my daughter Jennifer into the company. She's going to help me manage things. Family business, you know. You can trust family in a way you can't trust anyone else." There was something in how she said it. Something possessive. I asked about Jennifer's background, her experience in staffing. There was a pause. "Well, Jennifer is learning, but she's family. That's what matters most to me." I ended the call politely and sat at my kitchen table for a long time, staring at nothing. Michael came home around 6. I told him I needed to talk to him about his mom, but not where the kids could hear. We went into the garage, closed the door. The fluorescent light made everything look harsh and wrong. "I think something's really off with your mom," I said. "I don't think this Jennifer thing is what it seems." Michael's face went defensive. "What do you mean? What did you do?" I told him about the fake LinkedIn message, the call. I played him the recording. When Linda's voice came through the speaker, that intensity, that possessiveness about family, Michael's expression shifted. He went pale. "That's not," he started, then stopped. "That's not how she usually sounds. Michael, I think she's being controlling with Jennifer in a way that's not normal. I think she might have done something that made Jennifer actually feel trapped enough to stay." "Like what?" His voice was shaky. I didn't have proof, not yet, but I had a feeling, and it was eating me alive. "I'm going to call her," I said. "I'm going to ask her directly about Jennifer." "Ashley, no. Don't do that. You'll make it worse." But I'd already decided. Something in me had shifted. I wasn't going to manage Linda anymore. I wasn't going to smile and nod and let her manipulate her own daughter while my husband sat by and let it happen. I called her the next morning, on my lunch break at work. I sat in my car in the parking lot, hands shaking before I even dialed. Linda picked up on the second ring. "Ashley, hi, honey. How are you?" That sweetness in her voice made me want to scream. "I'm good, Linda. I actually wanted to talk to you about Jennifer." The sweetness evaporated. "What about Jennifer?" "I heard she's working at Premier Solutions now. I wanted to check in because I know she was hesitant about it." "Jennifer is exactly where she needs to be," Linda said, and her voice had turned cold. She needed structure. She needed someone to take care of her. After the divorce, she was falling apart. I saved her. By forcing her to work for you? I didn't force her to do anything. But her tone said otherwise. "Linda, Jennifer told Michael she didn't want to work there. She wanted to go back to school. You ignored that and hired her anyway. There was a long silence. Then, "You know what, Ashley? You've never understood family loyalty. You've never understood what it means to actually take care of people instead of just thinking about yourself. Jennifer needed me. And yes, I made decisions for her because she couldn't make them herself. That's what a mother does." "That's not what a mother does. That's what someone does when they want control." And then she said it, the thing that would change everything. "You're nothing but trash," Linda spat. "Trash that somehow convinced my son to marry you. You've poisoned him against his own mother, and now you're trying to poison Jennifer too. You're a manipulative, selfish, worthless piece of garbage, and I'm done pretending to tolerate you." I didn't respond. I just ended the call. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone, but my mind was clear, crystal clear. I called a lawyer that afternoon. Not a divorce attorney. I wasn't thinking about Michael like that. I called a corporate lawyer who specialized in business disputes and employee rights. I made an appointment for the next day. At that appointment, I told her everything. The recording of Linda's call, the way she'd trapped Jennifer, the pattern of behavior. I asked her what options existed if an employee was being held in a position against their will, if there was any kind of exploitation happening. "Do you have evidence that Jennifer is being actively prevented from leaving?" the lawyer asked, "or that her mother has done something illegal, like withholding pay or making threats?" I didn't, not yet, but I had the recording of Linda's call, which showed intent. I had Michael's testimony about Jennifer not wanting the job, and I had a very specific goal. I wanted Premier Solutions investigated. I wanted Linda's business practices examined. "I can help you file a complaint with the Colorado Department of Labor," the lawyer said. "If there's any violation of employment law, they'll find it. But understand, this will be public record. It will damage her company's reputation." "Good," I said. I filed the complaint that week, listed everything: the hiring practices that ignored the employee's stated preference, the family dynamics that suggested coercion. I provided the recording. I listed Michael and Jennifer as witnesses. I didn't tell Michael I'd done it. I couldn't. He would have tried to stop me, and I couldn't let him. For 2 weeks, nothing happened. Life went on. Michael was distant, sensing something was wrong but not knowing what. Jennifer texted me once to ask if I was okay. I said yes. I didn't mention the complaint. Then, on a Friday afternoon, I got a call from the Department of Labor. They'd opened a full investigation into Premier Solutions based on my complaint and the evidence I'd provided. They wanted to schedule interviews with both Michael and Jennifer. That's when everything exploded. Jennifer called Michael, panicked. The Department of Labor had contacted her. She didn't know what was happening, didn't understand why she was being questioned. Michael put it together instantly. He came home that evening absolutely furious. "You filed a complaint against my mother's company? Without telling me? Without asking Jennifer if she even wanted that? Your mother is manipulating your sister. Someone had to." "That was not your decision to make," he shouted. "That's my family, Ashley, my sister, my mother, and you went behind my back and started an investigation that could destroy her entire business. Maybe her business deserves to be destroyed if it's built on controlling people. You don't get to decide that. You don't get to blow up my family because you had a fight with my mom." We didn't speak for 3 days. Michael slept in the guest room. The kids could feel the tension, asked if we were okay. I said yes. I lied. But the investigation moved forward. The Department of Labor interviewed Jennifer officially. And that's when things got interesting. Jennifer, once she was away from her mother and talking to an actual investigator, opened up. She admitted that Linda had told her the job was conditional on her staying in Colorado, that if she left or quit, Linda would cut off all contact with her, that Linda had been monitoring her bank account and controlling her access to money, that after the divorce, Linda had told her she was too broken to make her own decisions and needed maternal guidance. It was coercion, it was financial abuse, it was psychological manipulation. The Department of Labor expanded their investigation. They brought in the DA's office. They looked at Premier Solutions' hiring practices, financial records, everything. And they found more. Linda had been doing this with other employees too, young women mostly, who'd had personal crises. She'd hire them, then make them dependent on her, then use that dependency to keep them working for less money than they deserved, in conditions that benefited her and no one else. It took 3 months, but the result was inevitable. Linda's business licenses were revoked. She was charged with multiple counts of wage theft and coercion. Her company collapsed. Clients pulled out. Employees sued her. Her personal reputation in the Colorado Springs business community was destroyed. All of it traced back to that phone call I made. The day the charges were filed, Michael and I finally talked. Really talked. "I'm sorry," he said. His eyes were red. "I should have stood up to her. I should have protected Jennifer. Instead, I let her do whatever she wanted because it was easier than fighting. And then when you did what I should have done, I got angry at you instead of supporting you." "I should have told you," I said. "I shouldn't have gone behind your back." "No, you were right not to, because I would have stopped you, and my sister would still be trapped." We sat in silence for a long time. "Jennifer's in therapy now," Michael said eventually. "She's talking about going back to school. She sounds like herself again." Linda called the house once after the charges were filed. Michael answered. I could hear her voice through the phone, high and panicked and desperate, begging him to help her, to fix this, to tell them it was all a misunderstanding. Michael listened for a minute, then said, "Mom, I love you, but you hurt my sister. You hurt people. You need to face what you've done." Then he hung up. He hasn't spoken to her since. As for me and Michael, we're still here. It took time, months of therapy, a lot of hard conversations about boundaries and family and what we owed each other. But we made it through. Stronger, maybe. Clearer about who we are and what we're willing to accept. Linda lost her company, her reputation, her relationship with her son. She's facing trial. Jennifer is free. Sometimes I think about that phone call, the one where Linda called me trash. I think about the power of one person deciding they're not going to manage a situation anymore, that they're going to burn it down instead. I don't regret it, but I understand now what justice actually costs. It costs everything, and sometimes that's the price it demands.